welcome. I'm Olas Garduk and you're watching Head to Head with UATV. On Orthodox Christmas Eve, January 6th, Ukraine will be granted Tomos. This is the document giving Autocephaly to the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. The Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople will present the decree to the head of the new church once he is selected. To talk about this, we welcome to the studio Dmytro Horevoy, Director of Religious Security Center. Hello and thank you for being with us today.
Good afternoon.
So, Mr. Horevoy, can you believe that finally Ukrainian church is becoming independent from the Moscow grip?
Yeah, actually, after some last says or some last documents from Ecumenical Patriarchate, he said that they have decision to grant Autocephaly for Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and tomorrow we have some United Council which actually created this new Autocephaly Church, and then Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew he gave the Tomos, the document which recognized this new church, and Ukrainian Orthodox Church became an independent, recognized church, and she have own number in the diptych. Diptych is list of recognized Orthodox Church, and Ukraine should have 15 number, the last number of these churches. Now it's a community from 14 churches, and then our Ukrainian church
will become the 15th one.
Yeah.
Could you explain our international audience what is this Tomos? Is this the document that only grants independence, or is there anything else outlined in this document?
Tomos, it's like a declaration about independence. It's a short document that declares that this church became like independent. In church terms, it's Autocephaly. And in this document, there are written some church rules. For example, that a new church will get holy mirror. It's some holy oil from the Constantinopole. It's need to baptize the human, and some other church recommendants which Ecumenical Patriarch want to give to Ukrainian church.
Interesting. Well, so Bartholomew will hand it over, this Tomos, to a new head of Ukraine's independent church, but the clergy have to select one. As you mentioned, tomorrow is this Unification Council. Tell us, how is it going to happen?
Actually, almost all of the church, Kievan Patriarch, Moscow Patriarch, and Autocephaly Orthodox Church, they present those candidates for which they will vote, and after the election, we have one united head of this Ukrainian Orthodox Church.
So every branch will propose its candidate, so there are going to be 3 candidates that they will vote for. As far as I understand, every bishop has an invitation, special invitation to this council, right? What does this invitation say?
That all bishops, even those bishops, should come to this council with one priest and one believer, and all of them have right to vote, to create some list of 3 candidates, and from these 3 candidates, bishops will elect the one who will be the head of this church.
And as far as I understand, Moscow Patriarchate will have the same rights at the Senate as Kiev Patriarchate, right? Even though they're opposing, many of them are opposing the creation of the independent Ukrainian Church.
Because Ecumenical Patriarch, after their synodal decision from the October of 2018, they cancel the act from the 17th century, and now from the church point of view, all Ukrainian Ukrainian bishops, so all Ukrainian believers. It's under Constantinople jurisdiction, and Constantinople doesn't recognize any Ukrainian church like Kievan Patriarch, Moscow Patriarch, or Autocephaly Church, all three branches, but they recognized parishes, communities, believers, and bishops, but not the structure like Kievan Patriarch or something like that one. And because of it, they should invitation not for these branches, but for bishops personally, for all bishops.
So all the bishops throughout Ukraine have been invited to participate in this council?
Yeah. Wow. Even those bishops from Moscow Patriarch, which said that they don't go to this council, they have this invitation because Ecumenical Patriarch, he invite them to take part in this council.
Yes, of course, everyone is invited. It matters. If they want, they can come. If they don't want, they can just skip the meeting. But do you have an approximate data how many bishops are there in Ukraine? I think this is going to be a lot of people.
It's a complicated question because no one of them want to say that I will go to the council because they're afraid from their authorities that they make some sanctions against them, and it's in some hidden, actually.
But at this Unification Council, can these bishops who come from the Moscow Patriarchate take the patronage from the new Ukrainian Independent Church?
You mean Ecumenical Patriarchate or exiles from Ecumenical Patriarchates?
Well, I'm not very well
actually,
educated in this religious topic.
This new church, it's fully independent and ruled by a Ukrainian head, with no some ruling from Constantinople or other church. It will be fully
But these representatives of the Moscow Patriarchate, which will participate in the council, can they transfer from the Moscow Patriarchate to the new church? That was interesting.
Yeah, because it's this question have two lines. From the one hand, from the church perspective, after this synodal decision from Constantinople Patriarchate, they have a right to join this new church.
Okay.
But in the other hand, in Ukraine, due to our law, even bishop have right to free consciousness, and he, by the law, he could change his jurisdiction. It's free in Ukraine because of the democratic system, actually.
Okay. Well, Presidential Advisor Rostislav Pavlenko said this Unification Council could last from several hours to several days, but as he says, there is hope for an optimistic scenario. It can last for several days if they cannot select one candidate?
No, we understand that the election, it's not only one question in agenda of this council, because after this one, bishop should adopt church statute. This statute, it's like in country's constitution, by which church should live. In this statute written some power, how this church should manage, about church court, about church councils, bishops' councils, and it's a huge document which they should discuss and finally adopt it. And then this council could go in maybe from hours to some days.
Okay, well, I got this point. What is going to happen with the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Moscow Patriarchate as an institute after emerging of this new Ukrainian independent church?
From the one hand, from the church perspective, they probably became uncanonical because Ecumenical Patriarchate recognized in Ukraine only one Orthodox Church in Ukraine. But from the government perspective, from the law perspective, they probably changed their name, adding some words that said that the church have center in a country which is aggressor for Ukraine, actually, and it's looking like this church will name like Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Moscow Patriarchate or Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine.
Well, this Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Moscow Patriarchate has a lot of parishioners. But the thing that interests me is after this inadequate and mad behavior of Moscow Patriarch Kirill, and after all these attempts to create some provocations in Ukraine around this situation with the church unification, do people realize, what is your forecast? Would people transfer to and flock to this newly emerging church?
You see, in Ukrainian Orthodox Church there are some different points of view, but the authority of this church, metropolitans, they try to make this church only pro-Russian church, and those bishops, those clergy, believers who have a pro-Ukrainian position or some who support Ukraine, they do not have possibility to be presented from this church like in church media, in church newspaper, and they create illusion that in this church only all believers are pro-Russians. But we understand that there is no truth, and after creating this church, a lot of parishes of Ukrainian Orthodox Church Moscow Patriarchate, they join this new church because they are not comfortable in their church, because they understand that metropolitans are lying about Ukraine, about this government. They no one from them said something wrong about Russia. They they blind the eye that we have a war between Ukraine and Russia, and believers are not. I don't understand why a church who should be a voice of some moral in society, why they are still do not say anything. And a lot of parishes will join this new church.
Yes, thank you for your answers. Well, the last thing to mention, because we're running out of time, that according to data provided by Ukraine security services, Russian special services had planned provocations around the country on the day of this unification synod, which is tomorrow, and they even recruited the vicar of the Kiev Pечерська Lavra. Well, let's hope that everything will go well tomorrow, and we will have this optimistic scenario, as presidential advisor said, and let's hope that on this symbolically on the Orthodox Christmas Eve, we will finally receive this Tomos about Autocephaly of Ukrainian Independent Church. Thank you for your interesting comments, and thank you for being a guest today in our studio.
Thank you.
That was Dmytro Horevoy, Director of Religious Security Center. Thank you for watching Head to Head, and stay tuned with UATV.